fellow Star Wars fans. I'm excited for this High Republic publishing kickoff, which all starts January 5th, 2021. I've already discussed a couple of these books, both of which come out January 5th. I'm excited to talk about Into the Dark, written by Claudia Gray, which comes out February 2nd, 2021. And I'm Drew, if I haven't introduced myself, I'm Drew Kaplan, Star Wars Maven. And this High Republic stuff is all 200 years prior to the events that take place in The Phantom Menace. It is a very different era in the Republic than what we see in the prequel trilogy, and it is something that, at least in the way these first books start off talking about, there is this Legacy Run incident, which is right before the release of this new beacon that's happening in the Outer Rim. It's part of this like push from the Republic. It's part of this grand vision, a lot of stuff which we get in Light of the Jedi, which comes out January 5th. This book by Claudia Gray is really interesting because the first eighth of the book, maybe 12% or so of the book, we actually is all pre-Legacy Run incident, and then everything else is sort of dealing with the after effects of that. Now, this book is really a YA novel, and it's a good one. Claudia Gray, she's written Lost Stars, Bloodlines, Master and Apprentice, and Leia, Princess of Alderaan. She's good. In some of these, she brings in some elements that she's mentioned in those books, such as Tanneray wine, Gadalitan, this, that, the other thing, and even that drink, Port in a Storm. So we have some elements that she really brings. She really brings a deep, not only just a knowledge, but a really understanding and a really good feel to the reader about Star Wars. She has a good sense of it, a good knowledge. Now in this book, we follow a couple of Padawans, a couple of Jedi Masters, and then some non-Jedi. And it's a really nice mix. People who are not familiar with the Jedi. Now, this really presents an interesting opportunity for someone to articulate who are the Jedi. And so here is actually two quotes about what are Jedi, which is really interesting articulation, which is, "The Jedi are Force users, united in our quest to understand the mysteries of the Force and to serve as guardians of peace and justice throughout the galaxy," which is followed up with, "And we ground ourselves in a spiritual existence and give up individual attachments in order to focus entirely on greater concerns." And those are some really fascinating articulations of what it is to be a Jedi. One of the really fascinating things, and this is just really cool, which we don't see in any of the movies, is this new notion of a Wayseeker Jedi. So it's someone who is really just sort of, they're not really going totally off the range, but they're definitely going in a different direction. This Wayseeker is a Jedi who would operate independently of the dictates of the Jedi Council. Some Jedi from time to time found themselves drawn to a period of solitary action, whether that meant meditation on a mountaintop, helping revolutionaries on a tyrant-ruled world, or even, in one legendary instance, becoming a minor singing sensation on Alderaan. That's a funny one. All paths could lead to a deeper understanding of the Force. That's really the key, is a deeper understanding of the Force. And that's something that takes place in this book, is the characters not only understand the Force in general, but even the dark side and how that interplays, which is something that's it's a new push in, certainly as whether we're viewers, as readers, new understandings through the eyes of some of these Jedi who, there are things that they have not been taught in the Jedi Order. Now, I'm just going to share a couple of others. I mentioned the Jedi Order. We have this thing about Padawan braids. In olden days, the braid had been mandatory, at least among apprentices from species that grew hair on their heads. These days, not every master required them, and that was already a couple centuries prior to the events in the prequel trilogy. I'm going to share one other thing which is pretty nifty about hyperspace. Steering in hyperspace was no mean feat. Generally, there was no need to do so since the Navicomputer calculated and modified the jump at inhuman speeds. Today was an exception. Experienced pilots formed a kind of intuition about hyperspace, an instinct that worked better than any droid or machinery. So some interesting concepts which we really have nicely articulated here in this book that Claudia Gray has written. Unlike Light of the Jedi, in which we sort of see the broad sweep of what events are taking place in this High Republic era, here we have a more intimate group, a real set, which for me, I got invested in these characters. I'm really curious, not only in the book, but when the book came to a close, I'm really curious going forward how these characters will develop, what will happen to them. So I'm very curious about these things, and it's another good turn from Claudia Gray. So thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and feel free to like and subscribe.